This happened back in September 2007. I was working with a recruiting company in Illinois at that time which provided people for house sitting or dog sitting services. I worked the night shifts usually in the same neighborhoods. That is because I hated driving for 30 minutes to get to my workplace, that too after figuring out the easiest route possible. So I always stick to the same locations. So when I got a call about shifting to a new location, I was more than annoyed, but I was told that one of my coworkers got fired all of a sudden for some reason. So I shrugged it off and told my manager I will be there. As usual, I drove to the client's place and reached there at around 5 in the evening. I met with the client, and he was a middle-aged guy who didn't talk much, similar to his girlfriend's behavior. They just told me that they'll be back after 2 days and gave me directions to their pet dog's routine and where the food was and stuff like that. At least their dog was nice. She was a cute little corgi, and she took a liking to me as soon as she saw me, which was a relief. I started with my shift and took her for a walk. Her name was Maxie. We went to the park nearby and strolled around for a bit. We were finishing up with our small little adventure when Maxie started acting really strange. Like from out of nowhere, she was standing still looking over her shoulder, staring at one particular side of the park where the trees were and growling. I looked around and saw nothing. She might have seen a raccoon or something is what I told myself. It was getting dark, so visibility was minimal as the trees and tall bushes around us started to morph into shadows. Maxie was fixated into one particular direction of the woods surrounding the east side of the park, which was very weird. The park was just 2 blocks away from the residential area. I nudged her collar, and she started walking again. But it was in the back of my mind, though. I just tried to relax and enjoy our little stroll, but as soon as we turned the corner, which connected the first street to the second, Maxie stopped dead in her tracks, started to sniff the air and go crazy again. I was starting to worry for her safety. What if she was not feeling well? But I knew I was lying to myself, trying to rationalize. I started walking fast, and when I looked over my shoulders, I saw no one except the street light at the end of the street we just left flickering. It was an oddity, of course, because it was perfectly normal when we passed it. Maybe a weird coincidence, but I started to get goosebumps, and I knew deep down that I was being stalked. To my relief, the residence at the end of the street was now visible, but then I heard it, an extra footstep coming not far from behind me. It wasn't an animal, because it came in sets of 2. I stopped and turned around, but again I saw nothing. I kept hearing leaves crunching under its feet from the bushes nearby, and decided to just scoop Maxie in my arms and make a run for it. I had the key ready in my hand. In an instant I unlocked the door and threw ourselves in and locked it. I then looked through the peephole. I heard slow, deliberate footsteps on the lawn outside approaching, and when my eyes adjusted to the dark, there it was. A tall and lanky figure, which barely resembled human. It was indeed walking on 2 legs, but was weirdly swaying from left to right as it moved. It was wearing some kind of long cloak, and when I made eye contact with it, its yellow eyes followed me. I heard this thing climbing the steps to the front very slowly, and each step felt like it was piercing my ears. I thought my heart would explode. I pushed the couch against the door and sat there huddled up praying. I could hear scratching on the door now. I held Maxie in my arms. The poor dog was whimpering. I passed out, and when I woke up, it was almost midnight. I was covered in sweat. Was it a nightmare? It can't be. Just then I was brought back to my senses by another loud bang. I felt like my whole body went limp again, and I was going to throw up. But this time I saw red and blue lights. This is the police. Open the door, anyone in there? So, long story short, what happened was my manager tried to contact me for something, and he couldn't get a hold of me. I was passed out and lost my phone somewhere in the street while I ran. He thought something happened and sent the cops to the address. I told them what happened. Well, not exactly like that. I just told them I got chased by some maniac. They believed me when they saw scratch marks on the door, and they believe it was an attempted robbery. There were no security cameras to prove anything. I drove back after the cops took my statement, and the house owners were notified of this, and they returned. If I said I was shaking the whole way back to my house, That would be an understatement, because what was it that followed me from the woods? I have to thank Maxie, the cute little dog, for alerting me about the danger that were following me. I couldn't sleep peacefully for months after that and had to go to therapy. I'm never dog sitting again.